I'm trying something a little new here, you all. Talking about Sonic drama is fun and everything, but sometimes the well is so dry that I lose pretty much all motivation to even mess with it. So I'm probably going to slow down on those videos. One situation that I was actually considering getting into was everything having to do with Yoshizilla and Kylie, all the stuff that the Sonic hero and his friend, I think it was Maniac or Manic, was talking about. I was going to get into that stuff, but honestly, at this point, I don't have all the information, and I don't want to get into a whole topic that I don't have a whole lot of information about. So I'll leave that shit to everyone else. I recently ended up having a bit of an epiphany. I love talking about Sonic the Hedgehog lore and stories, and often wonder how differently things would pan out in certain situations. So, why not put my practice with professional writing into action with some what if stories, or at least a what if story? I will say, I've dabbled in writing stories taking place in the Sonic mythos in the past, and while I'm not the proudest of those older stories, my love for telling those stories themselves has never been stronger. And honestly, this boosts my motivation for my own story that stars an anthropomorphic hero. Link down below if you're interested in checking it out. But let's get into the nitty gritty. This story used to be called What If Blaze Fought Sonic at Radical Train, but I think now I'm just going to call it What If Blaze Fought Sonic in Sonic 06. The story begins as Sonic rescues Elise from the train that Eggman placed her on. Even though he needs her for her power, I'm not going to go into why that's fucking coonish. I'll go into it in a video that is most likely not fucking done yet. But as Sonic and Elise are approaching the forest, a bolt of psychic energy strikes from the east. Sonic leaps out of the way just in time, resting Elise on the ground and guarding her with his body. Silver is there like the original scene portrays, but this time he's not alone. Blaze the cat is there as well, and Sonic doesn't immediately recognize her. Two things before I continue. First off, according to what I've been told by my editor Jet Suzuki, this game, even though it was rumored to be, it isn't actually a reboot. So Sonic and Blaze have no reason not to know each other, even though they pretend not to know each other the entire game. I'm changing that. Second, there's no reason why Silver and Blaze shouldn't be together in this scene, as they left together right before Silver snuck into the train station, and Blaze is much faster than Silver, so there's no way she got slowed down by the guards keeping watch at the station. Put some respect on her name, Sega. Silver starts yapping as usual, reminding him that the Iblis trigger must die, and that there will be no more interruptions. Blaze doesn't immediately say anything, but readies herself for Sonic's inevitable dodge. All happens as expected, and instead of just rolling out of the way of Silver's next attack, he begins jogging out of his range. Blaze expected this and dashes ahead of him, kicking him back towards her ally. Nice try, Blaze goads as she lowers her leg back down. Sonic holds his nose, pulling himself back to his feet as he starts to remember who this cat is. Blaze? The blue blur asks. Blaze is bashful, annoyed with this turn of events. Before Sonic can ask anything else, Silver sneaks up behind him and forces him to stay on his knees. Gotcha! Silver smirks, joining by Blaze's side. All while Elise steps back, unsure of how to help her helpless hero. So how was your little walk, princess? Elise turned to see Eggman's big arms approaching her, the machine's approach clouded by the commotion. She attempts to run, but the doctor is far too quick and scoops her up with ease. Sonic is just barely able to turn his head and call for Elise, leading to Silver applying more psychic pressure. Blaze turns away from Sonic, ashamed that it's come to this. Silver proclaims that it's time to end this fight. Just then, the feline notices something charging in the distance and grabs Silver's shoulder, calling his name and shoving him away with all her might. She dodges in the opposite direction, allowing a red and black streak to step in between them and their target. Silver stands, his concentration broken and Sonic freed. Who? He asks, his expression a mix of annoyance and confusion. Blaze also stands to her feet, the figure in front of her familiar yet different. It was Mephiles, or so they thought. Mephiles, Silver cried. Why are you getting in my way? The stranger corrects him, folding his arms dramatically. I am Shadow. Shadow the Hedgehog. This name meant little to either of the assailants. The moving big arms carrying the princess caught Blaze's eye, while Silver focused on Sonic. The blue hero gave Shadow a thumbs up and rushed past Silver and Blaze. Hey! Blaze called to Sonic before racing after him. Shadow watched the feline give chase before focusing back on Silver. Fighting 2-on-1. Have you no shame? Shadow lowered his hands, ready to take the assassin down. Silver instead strengthened his stance, ready to give the old hedgehog a run for his money. This doesn't concern you. Now step aside.
If you enjoy the video, please consider giving it a like, comment what you thought about the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Now, on with the show.
Sonic continues his trek through the station, eventually coming to Soliana Forest, not far from the tropical jungle that lay within. Before he could continue his journey, he sensed something. Sonic slid to a halt, closing his eyes and listening for a moment. The pitter-patter of heels against the tough grass grew louder, then stopped. At that moment, the hedgehog flipped, narrowly dodging the rush of flame that passed below him. Blaze's flaming kick missed the mark, and she turned, halting herself as black skids dressed the ground. Darn it! Can't you take a hint? Sonic attempted to rush past the purple kitty, only to be met with a devastating headbutt. He channeled more force into his feet, trying to force Blaze aside, but the princess didn't falter, her own acceleration a sight to behold. I can't let you go. Something's not right here. None of this sat well with Blaze, and if Sonic was willing to stop and listen for a moment, she'd be able to explain. But Sonic didn't have that kind of time. Eggman and Elise were getting away. Sonic broke free from the clash and charged forward again, only for Blaze to collect herself and charge after him. If I let Blaze slow me down, I may never see Elise again. Gotta keep moving. Sonic rushes with blitzing speed within the forest, trying his hardest to avoid the obstacles in his path. To make matters worse, he noticed Blaze take the higher route and charge ahead of him to a clearing. The feline charged 2 orbs of flame in her hands. Just listen to me! Sonic dodged the first blast and flipped over her head as she readied the second. A quick kick to the back of her head knocked her down, her disdain focal. He's still so fast. I can't afford to go easy. Sonic was already gone again, forcing Blaze to expend more of her fire just to catch back up. She held her hands together and summoned torrents of flame along the forest floor, hoping to trip him up. Stop running from me! Fire licked at Sonic's arms and quills, but like the Vulcan cannon shots from Eggman's mechs, they weren't enough to cease his movement. Once again, a clearing came into view, and Sonic leapt over to it, only to be met by Blaze again. You're really starting to get on my nerves, Sonic spat. Blaze readied her orbs of fire once more. Ironic. This time, Blaze launched the attacks faster, and didn't immediately give Sonic an opening. When he got too close, she spun in a circle, expelling a barrier of heat that knocked Sonic to the edge of the arena. The blue blur flipped to his feet and rushed forward again, sliding under her final flaming attack before kicking her in the chin and sending her packing. On the move once more, Sonic felt himself losing ground. He was still moving, but realized that it was only a matter of time before one of them got tired. He had to make sure it wasn't him. Sonic! Blaze commanded both torrents of flame and orbs of fire to slow him down, this time calling from behind him. I don't want to hurt you! Can't say I buy that, Blaze. Sonic narrowly dodged past as many obstacles as he could, falling to his face a couple of times. Thankfully, his objective was still in view. Only problem? This final clearing was surrounded by water, because of course it was. Sonic attempted to slide to a halt, barely able to stop himself. Murky water rested below a high drop-off. He can make the leap if he had more momentum, and he knew just where to get it. Sonic turned and watched as Blaze leapt and struck his chest with her knee, sending them both off the cliff. Blaze hadn't had a chance to survey the area like Sonic did, and took notice of their current altitude. What the heck? This was Sonic's chance. The hedgehog took Blaze's leg and began to spin. Blaze attempted to counter his attack by grabbing onto his arms and channeling the rest of her energy against him. A barrier of wind and fire surrounded them both as they spun in a circle and eventually crashed into the stone platform below. While Sonic still had the energy to stop himself from skidding into the drink, Blaze was still stunned from the fall and tossing out so many attacks, leading her to fall into the water. Sonic winced, guilt pouring over him. He didn't mean to drown her. He was just about to run for her when she pulled herself out of the bog and swam to the platform. The hedgehog sighed in relief before spotting the big arms once again. They were getting farther than he was comfortable with. Besides, he knew Blaze was plenty strong, so much though that he doubted he could fight her any longer without getting himself killed at this rate. With one last look at his purple rival, he turned on his heel and raced for the forest center. Blaze watched as Sonic retreated, unable to give chase. She pulled herself to her knees and coughed, water pooling under her. After her fit, the princess pulled her knees up to her chest, frustrated. I hope Silver is faring better than I am right now. Cut to black. So there you have it. A simple way to slide Blaze into the clash at Radical Train. I tried to throw in some references to gameplay in 06 and even Rush, making Blaze's impact on Silver's story just a little stronger. Perhaps this is why Sonic only barely caught up to Eggman and Elise, and wasn't on them the entire time. It also took the lampshade off the whole why doesn't anyone acknowledge Blaze in the story thing. I thought this was very fun, and I hope everyone else did too. This is all I have for today, so let me know if you all enjoyed this little vid by liking and subbing for more. Also, let me know if you have some what-if ideas as well, and I'll consider turning them into stories. Until next time, peeps.